Cedric,
Yo, Paul.
what's up, dude?
Not much. Another Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, BitcoinCenter.
Dude, this is going to be a fire show. I'm excited.
I think so. But before we get into all the emergency spaces nonsense from the weekend, I mean, on another line, I think on a more real tip, this Knots versus Core thing is kind of getting spicy.
It is. There's a lot of things getting spicy in Bitcoin right now.
Yeah, I'm really starting to wonder if we've sort of passed the, Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary moment here. In retrospect, I think we're probably have crossed the line already, is what I'm starting to think. I think this is a big deal. And I don't think enough people are interested in trying. And what I think is really tough about this one.
Well, it's like it is a cultural split.
It's a cultural split, but I think it's, for me, when you learn about Bitcoin, there's a lot to kind of like relearn and learn. And some parts of it, like cryptography, I'm learning about it, but I don't know everything about cryptography. Sure. I don't know everything about mining. And there's so it's like you kind of, I don't know everything about coding, right? And it's open source. And if you want true monetary sovereignty, I mean, there are levels to that.
Yeah, exactly.
And you have to make tough decisions for yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's a lot of what this is about.
I do think, though, that having more than one software that we could run is a good thing.
Definitely a good thing.
I think letting nodes vote on what they're going to run is a good thing. And that if we can get a more equal balance of Knots versus Core, if that becomes the end state, I think that,
and there should be a third and a fourth.
Sure, absolutely.
But are we seeing a movement also towards the ossification of Core? Are people who stay with Core just not going to upgrade to V30? Is that also a third road? Right. And also there's trade-offs. Like, let's say you prefer Knots.
Yeah.
I'm a supporter of Ocean. Sure. I support Knots. And I think diversity is good, or decentralization. And I think Luke's awesome, but for Bitcoin. But let's be honest. Like, you have one person developing the code,
right? That's the risk.
But there are other. You have to know more to run Knots.
But to be clear, right? It's not that far. It's just more filters, right? From what I understand.
Right, but it also turns off after 2 years.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, like he wants you to upgrade because so it's like almost like the Knots version.
Okay.
So I mean, there's other things you have to learn about Knots. Maybe I'm misspeaking there. But it's like you're running Knots. You have to learn how to run Knots.
Right.
Right. And that's a good thing. Right. I think of it, though. And some people are saying, but hey, maybe I agree with Knots, but I won't upgrade to V30. And I just want the code that's looked at by 60 to 80 people.
Right.
And I want to have some trust there. Right. And maybe they have less monetary sovereignty, but doesn't that's mean that what they want.
Knots isn't going to develop a team over time. Like, it may not just be Luke's implementation forever.
Sure, I would hope not. I'd hope more eyes are on it, and it gets more and more robust. I see Knots as like Core is sort of like a Corolla. Like, I just gotta get from A to B, and I just gotta run this damn thing. And I don't care about cars. I just need a car. I gotta get a car. I don't care. Like? I want a dependable car that like everyone's using and it works. And then there's people who are like, I want a Ferrari.
So Core is that,
and I want more. I want to drive it faster. I want to take turns tighter. I don't know.
I think of Core as like,
and I think it's about filter. I think the filters are important in terms of opting in or out.
Core is that Chevy that you've been driving for years. It just keeps getting more electronics added to it.
Okay.
It gets the screen, it gets the backup camera, it gets and like you oh wow, I'm getting all this more stuff, but you're missing the point, which is we want the best performing car.
Sure.
We want the car that drives fast, doesn't break down, is simple, easy to maintain, that doesn't bring in all this electronic crap that breaks all the time.
Yeah.
And that's the risk with adding all the stuff the Core wants to add into the protocol. I mean, this is my simple analogy.
Okay, but now you want to take it further. Maybe you want to.
Somebody from Core was sitting here, they would blow me away.
If you want to look into that, how do you do that?
How do you do that?
I mean, like, do you listen to Adam Back? Do you follow Bitcoin Mechanic and just take what he says? Or obviously you don't take anyone says what they, but like, we were talking about Joe, like, who's a spook? Like, how many of these people are driving it in a direction that like sounds really freaking logical, but are taking me down a slippery slope? I have no idea. Sometimes
I have no idea either. I do prefer that we focus on the monetary use case only.
I agree.
So I align with that value. Doesn't mean I understand that the technology is actually going to achieve that in the long run.
Right. And I don't think Bitcoin is for data storage.
I agree.
So with all that said, I think we can get into it. This is BitcoinCenter live stream number 18. My name is Cedric Youngelman.
I'm Paul Tarantino.
Go bank yourself.
Let's be real, right? Praising Telegram for launching a Bitcoin wallet. I've always felt like with Haley,
Bitcoin, this digital currency that's out there that people say, oh, it might be the next big thing. What do you think?
I think it's rat poison.
Bitcoins. You never heard of them a few weeks ago? Now everybody's talking about them, but is it a currency?
I don't know. Or is it more like a stock? Or is it a tulip bulb?
Or is it
just debate that?
Stupid.
To me, it smells like Ponzi scheme and the greater fool theory right now.
you do like 5 minutes of freaking research.
It was me. Oh, man, I get that wrong. All right. Bitcoin's recent rally.
Do you agree? Is crypto finally dead? Go to the next one.
Matter of fact, they're kind of in the Ethernet. What are they? There's some rumors that it's this Japanese guy, but others say no, that he's a fake name. It was a pseudonym. I mean, you're literally putting real money onto a system that we don't even know who created it.
It will come to a bad ending. Is this the most exciting bull run ever?
Not for me. No, it's not.
Welcome to BitcoinCenter, the fast-paced show where the debate is the story.
Ding, ding.
What's up? Let's get into it. Bitcoin slid below 108K amid a whale sell-off. Was a single large whale responsible for Bitcoin's drop, or is Red September looming?
I mean, there was some big whale selling, but I mean, dude, we went down to 108?
Yeah.
Who cares?
Well, are we ladder stepping down?
That's not what could be. We could be. If this is the top, it's defying all logical tops. We don't have euphoria. We don't have FOMO. None of the top indicators are in regards to on-chain indicators. So if this is the top,
something that you could say is a new sentiment, a leading indicator. Top. Negative sentiment?
No.
And maybe, I mean, Bitcoin Twitter, which is a bubble, seems to have, I mean, I think that's bullish, but and none of this is not, none of this is financial advice.
If you look at the fear and greed index on Bitcoin right now, it's nowhere near a top level.
People aren't scared, aren't.
No.
That's what it seems like on Twitter.
No, it's just the opposite.
Maybe it's all the new people.
It's just the opposite. When you get massive greed, massive FOMO, and people are just afraid of missing the next 20-30%, that's when you get a top. I don't see how we get a top here. I don't
think Bitcoiners have had the exit liquidity this year that they've expected by this point, to be honest. And I'll come up in the next topic. So
you're making the case that people are waiting for exit liquidity before there's a top.
No, they're looking for higher. Some people are hoping for higher prices. I think this cycle's a lot about people trying to get rich, who came in much later.
Yeah, but there's a lot of big bags being sold into this the whole way.
And I think they're going to stronger hands, but we might slowly climb up instead of a big spike that people are hoping or expecting.
Well, and I think the derivative market around Bitcoin right now is bigger than it's ever been.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of companies trying to accumulate Bitcoin using those individuals and companies trying to.
But a lot of those
Bitcoin
derivatives are cash settled, I believe.
Yes.
So
not overseas.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. Let's
Which
get to
is
the
where
next
the
one.
biggest markets are. Next question. JPMorgan says Bitcoin is undervalued versus gold. What should we make of the comments such as this by the big banks?
I mean, you could see it as them bending the knee, but and look, this isn't JPMorgan as a whole. This is probably a department or an analyst at JPMorgan.
Sure.
And they're running a model, and what they're saying is volatility has gone down from 60% at the beginning of the year, according to their model, to 30%. And therefore, it's undervalued because it's less volatile and more like gold and acting as a store of value. That is the basis of the report. And then it says, okay, it's undervalued by like 13% and it should be at like 124. So they're not saying it's massively overvalued and it's undervalued compared to gold and it should be a 5x from here.
Yeah.
They're like, and this is very basic Wall Street You know, it's either going to go up by 75% here or down by 15. It's going to be wrong either way. This report.
Let's be real, right? Wall Street's just adopting Bitcoin as digital gold, and then they're putting rationale behind that mantra, behind that meme.
Yeah.
It suits the sale of the ETF. It suits the entire storyline of getting investors to understand Bitcoin from the perspective of digital gold. So to me, they're just adopting what has been like a meme in Bitcoin for a long time, and then they're trying to put numbers behind it.
Yeah, I think they also have to sell research reports, and you know, this is what they do, and this is not a big call either way.
This is not a big call.
All right, let's move on. Eric Trump's 1 million Bitcoin call in Hong Kong recently. Does the statement carry any weight, or is it just conference bravado?
I think this is like the easiest conference bravado ever. Like, so many people have called. We've been calling 1 million Bitcoin since 2017. Like,
well, you know, he is the president's son. He's close to policy.
Sure, but like
they are getting invested.
They can get an applause.
They have skin in the game.
They can get applause and get the Bitcoin community pumped up.
Yeah,
Everybody wants to see it go to 1 million, and you could say that without taking like some huge risk.
Yeah, there's no risk.
No, there's no risk in saying that. So yeah, I think I guess you could call that conference bravado, but it's not.
I think it's definitely conference bravado.
Like he said anything insightful.
He did drop some things about the company. I think it's American Bitcoin mining.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that.
Okay, so we'll save that.
We'll save that. But again, it's not a real heavy lift to be calling Bitcoin to 1 million, especially when JPMorgan saying it should be valued the same as gold.
Are we going to get into some of the stats they released about how much it cost them to produce a Bitcoin?
Yeah, that was interesting.
So it cost them like 30. He claims it's about 37,000 for them to mint or produce a Bitcoin, and that they're mining about 3% of the new Bitcoin supply per day. And so that's a profit margin at 108 grand of like 200% on the Bitcoin they're mining. And they're putting a lot of capital behind this. So
and then does the sovereign wealth fund come in and buy them?
I don't know.
Oh,
right.
We got Bitcoin on the balance sheet without buying Bitcoin on the balance sheet.
Right. And all of this to me is a lot of insider trading, but the whole economy is insider trading in Washington, D.C.
It's
and
not a free market.
Probably Wall Street. But all right, let's move on. You asked
Is it my turn?
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Yes,
the Senate introduces crypto regulatory bill rivaling the Clarity Act. Will the Senate's new crypto bill stall the legislative process?
I hope so. I hope they get nothing done. That's what I want. I hate
what is
all
the
of
difference
this.
between what they're proposing?
I don't know what the difference is.
Oh, good research, Cedric. Good job.
All I know is they're proposing something alternate.
There's a source there for you to look at.
Look, they could change things 3 seconds before they pass anything. So what's the point of me reading this document that's going to change? I'll just wait for someone else to give me the key takeaways.
It gives them something to argue about.
This thing's barely out, but this is an alternate version. I hope it slows them down. I don't know. It's been a very slow year. I think it's good that these things are getting done very slowly.
I do too. But I think the Clarity Act was kind of silly when you really look into the way they're going to categorize these different tokens, where the SEC is going to have the decision whether it's a commodity or not, which would then allow the CFTC to regulate some of the tokens, but it has to go. So like, what has really changed?
Right. I think this is all backdooring in
the
Ethereum.
SEC is more open to things not being a security anymore if they deem them to be decentralized enough.
I think this is all backdooring that. They're backdooring bullshit crypto. Yeah. But there's going to be something here in terms of stablecoins. I mean, the world is going to use stablecoins, and it's going to probably not be on decentralized.
The Genesis Act is done.
Right, but I think they're just continuing to.
Didn't that get all the way through yet?
We're going to get more clarity.
We're going to get more clarity.
Yeah. 10-4. All right.
10-4.
Let's get to it.
Let's get to the smart guys in the room.
The MicroStrategy or strategy alarm, MSTR. Let's bring on the fellas here, Dan Hillary and Dark Side of the Moon or Dark Side 2030. Apparently there was, an important spaces over the weekend. And I think this is really interesting stuff to follow. So I'd love to hear Dark Side. If you could chime in on maybe what the conversation was about on Saturday or Sunday from your perspective.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Really appreciate it. So we got an issue now with strategy in as much as they've shifted gears from a convertible note strategy to a perpetual preferred strategy. And those perpetual preferreds carry with them significant dividends, unlike the convertible note strategy, which was 0 to very low coupon and didn't carry with it large fiat obligations. So now that they've taken on significant fiat obligations, they have to make those payments. So there's really only three ways that Strategy can make those payments. One would be to sell common stock and take the proceeds and pay the dividends. Second would be to sell additional preferreds, and they have made it clear in their prospectus for these preferreds that it is acceptable for them to sell preferreds to pay the dividends of previous preferred holders, but we all know what that sounds like. And then the third option would be to actually sell some Bitcoin. Now, I think the real problem comes in that the flywheel, the natural flywheel that Strategy enjoyed, was their ability to create Bitcoin per share by issuing the convertible securities. And those convertible securities only became dilutive when the share price rose significantly. That's very different than the perpetual preferreds. So in my personal opinion, the flywheel is slightly broken, right? Because you're forced to sell securities to pay the dividends on previously issued securities. Now, given their current liabilities from both the notes and the preferreds, they could sell as little as 20 Bitcoin a day and easily pay off the responsibilities of the fiat responsibilities obligations of both the preferreds and the notes. Now, why don't they do that? If they did that, you would create a natural flywheel, and that flywheel would be that the CAGR of Bitcoin is greater than the CAGR that the interest rate they're paying on the perpetual preferreds and notes. So that's a simple to understand flywheel. Now this gets complicated even further, and maybe I'll hand it over to Dan to explain what a moving liquidation target is and how that creates an existential threat to Strategy through STRF and STRK.
Dan, please take it away.
Thanks, Darkside. I think that was a really good recap. And so I'm definitely the resident bull here, and I will definitely talk about the dividend payments, which I think are a really, interesting topic, especially because all this stuff is very, very, very brand new. So the one thing that's interesting about these preferred equity obligations is they've existed historically. Duke Energy issued a perpetual preferred static liquidation stock that went for about 40 to 60 years during the infrastructure build out after World War II. And the real key here is that Strategy is the first preferred equity issuer to have a preferred equity that has a moving liquidation. And what's a moving liquidation preference? The liquidation preference it's simply the amount owed to the equity holder in the case that Strategy becomes insolvent. So from a bull's perspective, Strategy won't become insolvent because the preferred equities are over collateralized 20 to 1. At times with STRF, it's even higher based on the Bitcoin stack. And the only way for them to become insolvent would likely be that the Bitcoin is lost or they don't own it or some sort of, tail risk scenario. But the thing that makes moving liquidation preference confusing, I think, and confusing for me, and I'm trying to work through it because, again, these are all new products, is so let's say STRF, for example, which is a senior preferred equity, right? That's the 30-year equivalent fixed coupon senior preferred. So right now it's trading about $112. You get a $10 dividend annually on that product. If it were to trade up to $113, $114, $115, $116, the effective yield on that goes down, right? That's how bond pricing kind of works. But as the price of that security increases in value, you still have 100, whatever the price is, it went from 112 to 116. In the case of liquidation, as a holder, you have a $116 claim over the Bitcoin senior to the rest of the equity holders in the capital stack, again, in the case of liquidation. So this has weird implications for Bitcoin per share. So it's hard to know. So if the price of STRF goes up, will that reduce the Bitcoin per share for the common or for the junior holders or the creditworthiness of the junior holders? Or does it not even matter? How do we value these things? Is the liquidation preference truly a liability? In the case of GAAP accounting, the liquidation preference isn't technically a liability. It's just the annual coupon obligation, which is a liability, which Darkside mentioned earlier.
All right. My first question, though, is maybe he's walked into a trap. Maybe there's unintended consequences he didn't see. But let's say he comes out and says, I'm going to sell 500 Bitcoin to a subsidiary to raise some money, prove the model and the flywheel positive. and maybe the market says you changed your word again. You went back on the MNAV. You promised us one thing, then you changed your word. And is that a way, in a way, a trap, where he loses a lot of confidence or even more sentiment for doing maybe what seems to be the only logical way out? Is that sort of another maybe unintended consequence that could come from that?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think the market would be tremendously excited at the concept of Michael Saylor taking profits in Bitcoin. Remember, he owns Bitcoin at very low prices. So the concept of, let's see, he owns 640,000 Bitcoin about, right? The concept that you're going to sell 20 Bitcoin a day, you know, I mean, it's nothing. It's a drop in the bucket. But you'd be funding the dividend directly from Bitcoin sales. Now, look, I'm bullish on strategy as well. I love Michael Saylor. I think he's an incredible ambassador for Bitcoin. But I think he's made a mistake. Is it a trap? That's a great question. It becomes a trap under certain circumstances if he continues to sell billions and billions of dollars of, let's take STRF, for example, and just following on Dan's kind of point, let's say interest rates go below zero. Now, that sounds crazy, except that we were almost there 5 years ago, right? So let's just go with it, right? What does STRF trade at when interest rates are below zero and they're paying a 9% dividend? Does it go to 500? Does it go to 1,000? Does it go higher? Well, I don't know, but with Dan's point about moving liquidation, right, all of a sudden the common shareholders become a meme stock, right? Because they don't really have any claim to the Bitcoin underlying strategy. That's a problem. Is it a trap? I'm not sure. Certainly taking on perpetual liability exposure, because that's what a perpetual preferred is. It goes on forever, right? Unless it's retired. And I'm not even sure these can be retired. That's a good question for Dan. But this perpetual liability exposure, right? How do you quantify exactly what the liability exposure is when it's perpetual? Right? With a bond, well, it's a 10-year bond. You can calculate out exactly what the dividend payments are going to be, the interest payments are going to be. But in a perpetual obligation, that obligation is unquantifiable. So as these products grow, let's just say he becomes a victim of his own success, and these things go from 5, 6 billion, 10 billion to 100 billion. Well, now you've got a problem, right? Because you have a significant amount of dividends you have to pay. If you're going to use your common stock, you're going to drill it below 1, right? And what happens if the MNAV goes below 1? Now, do you sell common stock below the enterprise value of the Bitcoin, right? Do you sell perpetual preferreds to pay the previous perpetual preferreds dividends? To me, that's not going to work. Wall Street's not going to stand for that, even though he can do it by prospectus. So now you're left with basically selling Bitcoin. And I would say you're better getting out before you have a problem and doing it out of necessity. Do it out of desire. Make the move now and kick off the flywheel, because this becomes a real flywheel if you can sell Bitcoin to buy Bitcoin and just sell a little bit off month after month after month, right? And on top of that, there's nothing stopping him from selling highs, right, and buying lows. Instead of saying I'm going to buy the top all the time, maybe I'm going to sell some tops and buy some bottoms. That makes sense to me. And then finally, I would suggest, look, Saylor's got the ultimate exit strategy, which is simply to start an operating company, becoming the largest trading desk for Bitcoin. Right. He's become the Goldman Sachs of Bitcoin, in a short period of time. Why is all of these profits being handed to over-the-counter desks, small broker-dealers, some banks, when Saylor is the largest flow desk in the world? He would become literally the Solomon Brothers of Bitcoin. And anyone who remembers Solomon
that was the question I had when we talk about, needing 20 Bitcoin to pay dividends. Couldn't they generate a Bitcoin yield through a trading desk that could easily pay those dividends?
Yeah, of course, this would entail reclassifying the firm away from the technology operating company it is today into something else. I'm not sure what that reclassification looks like, but certainly that would seem to be the most logical path. If you had 80,000 Bitcoin to move, as we saw just within the last 6 weeks, wouldn't you call Saylor first right? Isn't that the natural phone call to make if I have 80,000 Bitcoin to sell? So yeah, I think that's where this is headed. I think when he makes that move to becoming the Solomon Brothers or the Goldman Sachs of Bitcoin, it's off to the races.
Do you think the target of getting into the S&P 500 is a hurdle they want to achieve before going in that direction? Because that direction seems very logical.
Yeah, it does. And I'll be honest with you, I'm 50-50 on this one. We were talking about it earlier today. I can make just as good an argument for them being added to the S&P 500, right. That being, look at their holders, right? Mm-hmm. BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard. You've got nation states, sovereign wealth funds buying MicroStrategy. Deutsche Bank, I think, just took down a large position of Strategy. So there's certainly some loud voices and important voices that would be for this. But then again, I look at the committee and what they did with Elon Musk and Tesla, and I get skeptical. So yeah,
good point. You'd have to think the S&P 500 would want to, the committee would want to negotiate with him and probably push down his voting rights.
I don't think that's their modus operandi. But look, Josh Mandel, who is a time traveler, he said without any doubt, Bitcoin will be added, strategy will be added to the 500. So yeah, if Josh Mandel says so, now I'll go 51-49.
Fair enough.
I imagine over a long enough period of time, that's probably that may be taken to 100%. It's just a time frame, is it?
Yeah, I think it's a time frame thing. I just don't think they get in necessarily. I don't think the odds are 50-50 even they get in this round, but Josh has said so, and I agree. He seems like a time traveler. What is the real appetite for the preferreds from non-Bitcoin oriented institutions and entities and things like that? Like where it seemed like they went to the convertibles and they pivoted because it just wasn't enough appetite, and that the entities buying the convertibles were just trading them and defending their short positions and just taking the cut. Is there a real appetite from, or even one to be built truly for these things to become sort of traditional instruments and replace sort of the U.S. Treasury yield curve? I mean, is this going to really build out a Bitcoin yield curve and hundreds of trillions of dollars are going to come through these kinds of vehicles? Is that sort of what you see that? What kind of success rate would you put on that for a company like Strategy?
What I can say about the converts is what I've heard from the participants in the market is that there actually wasn't a lack of demand for the converts, but the team at Strategy was extremely hesitant to continue issuing them and look for a new product because of how predatory the convertible arb market is towards the actual stock, which, right. So again, they're desperately looking for some alternative, and that's how they settled upon these preferred equities. And in terms, to answer your question, in terms of like, okay, how much demand truly exists out there in the market, I think one thing we've seen recently is the initial IPO buyers riding these up to par value or somewhat close to par value, at least those with the cumulative dividends, and then a serious rotation out of these products. And so now I think we're just starting to get the inklings, the beginning of people becoming aware of these products and starting to allocate into them with the intention of holding. And in terms of the entire Bitcoin-backed fixed income yield curve, I actually think it's a hugely critical component of Bitcoin taking its role as a deflationary source of money, because if Bitcoin is truly a deflationary asset and USD will continue to be an inflationary asset, there exists a natural arbitrage between those two systems. And the best way to express that arbitrage is through the bond market. So you have to be able to tap into the bond market to funnel as much capital out of essentially USD, which sits in, essentially government debt, and then have it pumped into BTC at an advantageous CAGR relative to USD. So you have to offer a higher yield relative to the current treasury market, but a yield that's lower than that of Bitcoin to sort of, to water flows downhill, as they all say.
So Dan, you said when we started that you're the bull, but at the same time, you see this massive risk with these perpetual preferreds. Do you think that risk is really triggered by a large recession, a business cycle level recession that Bitcoin has not been through? If that is on the horizon, if a true liquidity crunch is on the horizon, is this sort of the filter moment for MicroStrategy if that were to occur?
Absolutely. I mean, perceived CAGR is ultimately how people continue to value both MSTR, perceived CAGR of Bitcoin explicitly is how people right now value MSTR, and then how they're going to continue to value the creditworthiness of the preferred instruments. And if over a year's time, people or the market decides that the terminal CAGR of Bitcoin is sub the dividend obligations of the preferred equities, and that turns into a really kind of scary or kind of a market panic scenario where where MSTR would theoretically trade below NAV. I'm not saying that would happen. I'm just saying that provides now another opportunity, like it traded below NAV during the last pair, for participants who are bullish on BTC.
Right. Yeah. So it's I mean, everybody loves to talk about the Bitcoin CAGR 30%, and they run things out linearly, and like MicroStrategy is going up forever, but they're not factoring in massive 80% drawdowns, right? And thus we now have the meme that the 4-year cycle's over and it's going up forever. If that's not the case, then the risks that you guys are envisioning could really come to fruition.
Well,
is
that's
that a logical statement, or is that
likely temporarily? I think the dark side point.
I guess this seems like it's event driven.
Yes.
As opposed to structurally driven.
The possibilities of a deflationary spiral, I think, are out of the market. There's just too much money been printed and too much left to be printed. I think more likely we see a crack up boom, and we don't see these. Look, we haven't seen a real down move in the market since COVID, and I don't think you see one again. Look, I'm exceptionally bullish on strategy once they adopt a pure flywheel. And the pure flywheel is not selling common to buy Bitcoin or to pay dividends. The pure flywheel is acquiring Bitcoin and then paying the dividends by selling off a small amount of Bitcoin. That's a pure flywheel, right? As long as the CAGR of Bitcoin's higher than your dividends, you're just raking in money. And you can do that at pretty large scale. So yeah, for my 2 cents, I think you're better off going early, right, and adopting this strategy than doing so out of despair. Because if you do it out of despair, the market will punish you.
Right. Right.
Darkside, I have a question on that. I was super bullish on the guidance prior to the change that common would only be issued to pay the necessary dividend obligations, and then they provided some MNAV guidance elsewhere. I'm okay with them issuing common so long as they trade at a premium, and only if they're allowed to, if they're only selling the common to pay the preferreds. In the case of the common trades at a discount, they have to sell Bitcoin to cover the preferreds.
Look, what I've tweeted and what I've recommended is they should just come out with straight guidance above 2.5 MNAV, or make it 2, whatever the number is. We're going to sell our common to pay our dividends and pay our responsibilities. Below that number, we're going to sell Bitcoin, right? And take the pressure off common shares, let that breathe, relieve the market of any type of Ponzi-esque approach to selling securities to pay the dividends on previous securities. Now, I think this thing would take off. So for me, it's really simple, and it's an easy move for Saylor to make. So we'll see. Maybe he's waiting for S&P 500 inclusion before he makes a change. Who knows?
Interesting.
Fellows, this has been fascinating. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. Please hit like and subscribe if you guys are enjoying the show. There's so much more to talk to you guys about, but we got to get back to the program. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you for joining us, guys, and providing the insight.
Pleasure.
Thanks for having us.
Bye-bye.
Now, this is BitcoinCenter, live stream number 18. I think we'll get the banner up in a second, and we're going to get to the lightning round.
Those guys are smart.
Yeah.
Maybe Saylor's website.
He seems to be tuned in and responding to conversation and taking it in and throwing it into AI, probably.
Probably.
So,
all right.
Let's get into it.
All right. The U.S. government posts GDP on chain. Is this a real step toward alternative crypto use case, or just a flashy PR stunt, Cedric?
I think at best this is a flashy PR stunt. I think this is an attack.
Just because you
This
put
is a freaking sanctified state attack on Bitcoin. They're putting bullshit on the ledger. That means
bullshit
nothing.
on the ledger.
Like, okay, fine. It's on the ledger. That means nothing to me. But what you put on the ledger doesn't affirm or ascertain or validate it either.
Exactly.
So why do I want to read it on the fucking ledger? That's stupid.
Right. If you put lies on the ledger, your lies live forever.
So I think this is stupid at best and disgusting. And they put it on a bunch of, I guess, chains besides Bitcoin, whatever you want to call those. But I think this is a state attack on building up crypto, and
I don't know, man.
I hate it.
And it goes to show you that they don't really understand the true value of Bitcoin.
No, not at all.
Bitcoin's for truth, not for PR.
Very upsetting. All right, next one. China's yuan-backed stablecoins. Reports say China is developing yuan-pegged digital currency. Is this a real threat to Bitcoin?
No. This is the future of currency wars. The US is going to push stablecoins all over the planet. Your population and the government near you is going to be downloading wallets filled with USDT. If you're China, if you're the European Union, you are now officially shitting your pants.
Right.
And you need to get in the game. So this is a currency war, and that's what's happening. The digital central bank digital yuan didn't work. The uptake was poor. The central bank digital euro, it's not going to work. It's dead on arrival. They're scrambling to issue stablecoins. And it's going to fail too. The dollar is the dollar, and it's going to continue to dominate. So have fun managing your your subsidiary with the dollar as your currency.
Yeah. All right. I hear you. Let's get on to the next one.
The next one. Japan's finance minister acknowledges crypto. Could Tokyo's embrace of Bitcoin be the dawn of a crypto war, echoing the US-Japan chip battles of the 1980s? That's for you.
Yeah, it's I was looking at your questions for you. Japan's. I'm curious. A lot of countries are coming out with these kinds of statements. Obviously, their economies are moving a little bit towards crypto and Bitcoin. MetaPlanet is, I think, sort of like, oh, is Japan trying to acquire Bitcoin through MetaPlanet? Is this sort of signal? But I'm not sure, and I'm not sure it becomes a major.
I don't think it's not a battle. Japan is our sidekick.
That's what I think they work for us.
I think they got the call, and they said, "Hey guys, get on the program." Your population is going to be using USDT, and they're going to be saving in Bitcoin, so you better hurry up.
Yeah. So not a big deal. Let's move through that one. We'll see. We'll just monitor it. All right. This is why Trump-backed Bitcoin miner IPO. Will this Trump family-backed miner deliver on its hype? I didn't know this question was coming up. This is why you said we'd talk about this later.
So hype. The only hype I saw was that this was going to drive the Bitcoin price higher. These are the guys that are writing articles about this are like, this is going to be good for Bitcoin. It's going to drive. It's like, it's not. This has nothing to do with the price of Bitcoin. This is a very interesting public offering that is going to be mining Bitcoin. They're mining Bitcoin overseas. They're mining Bitcoin in the United States. They're going to be acquiring Bitcoin if they can't mine it profitably. This is a Bitcoin acquisition vehicle. Trump family is backing it, and that's the hype. It doesn't seem like hype to me. That just seems like another miner going public.
Yeah, we'll see.
Let's go.
Next one.
Bitcoin Asia 2025 conference draws record turnout. Does the record 15,000 attendee turnout in Bitcoin Asia 2025 signal Asia's primacy in the next bull run?
I thought the numbers that they brought to the conference were interesting. I think the point of these conferences in a lot of ways are to just bring mainstream media's attention to this and make it something that has to be discussed in the media. And so they brought in 15,000 people. There were, CZ was there, Eric Trump, Balaji. Yeah. So I could see why people on that part of the world would want to check out. You could be an enemy of Bitcoin or an enemy of America, and you want to hear what the president's son's going to say about these things so you can deal with your life and get a kind of understanding of the world. So, and Balaji is very interesting. CZ, he's a weird one. I think he's a Chinese front, but he ran one of the biggest exchanges. He's managed to not go to jail.
Yes.
I doubt he'll ever come to America.
Right.
They say he's, the tech guru who came up in trading and sort of like security, and that's why he ran the best exchange. That's like a gambling ring. And but he speaks the good talk about Bitcoin. They all do when they go to the he believes in decentralized exchanges. Even
how many people,
I don't know where they are with that.
How many people show up to crypto conferences in Asia versus Bitcoin conferences?
Well, I think this is probably half crypto or more.
Do you think so? Was it a mix?
I think it's stable coins, and probably I'm sure there was a mix.
But this was the Bitcoin conference.
But the takeaways, I don't know if
I mean, everything I saw online was all about Bitcoin. It was a legitimate Bitcoin conference. 15,000 attendees.
Because it seemed like the last one in Asia was about ordinals. So I assumed that this one was going to have a lot of that kind of.
Some of that.
There's got to be a lot of it. Maybe that didn't make that article or that, but I'm sure there was a flavor there.
But I mean, crypto is Asia and crypto are like tied at the hip. They are full down the smart contract.
So, right. That's why I could see people being interested in this, and they pulled it off. They got a large crowd there. Even if the tickets were free. It doesn't matter. I mean, people came.
They were free?
So I think some early on were free.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, right. I'm sure, but...
Well, I mean, kudos to Bailey for pulling this off and spreading the conference.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. But,
signals being, spread. Even if it's a little diluted. We'll see. All right. Is this me asking you?
Yes, sir.
Oh, man, this is so confusing. Analysts predict $150,000 Bitcoin. I'm one of them. Not financial advisor. Predictions of 150,000 Bitcoin by year-end realistic. Or are analysts underestimating looming market risk? I thought we'd be at 150K by July 4th. I was obviously wrong. I think it was directionally right. I think 124.
I think
by August 1st, not too bad.
I feel like 150K is a legitimate target.
Okay.
Give or take 10 grand. I think it's a very legitimate target for this bull run.
Sure.
But I also think that there's the possibility that the crack up boom kicks in and that this thing goes quite a bit higher. And maybe we do hit Josh's target of 444.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, this is possible.
This is possible in the Bitcoin space. It's like the question becomes, do we come out of September, October with some sort of massive liquidity that pumps Bitcoin into the end of the year, and we have a late cycle top that's much higher? Or are we just going to keep crawling to 150K and then we're going to fall off a cliff?
Well, are you with Samson Mao to some extent where you're like, look, there's just more Bitcoin being bought publicly, whether maybe there's no proof of reserves and proof of buys, but like you would think with the action that just sentiment would be bubbling at least. I don't feel like we're at the beginning of. Now that sometimes could be a good sign,
right?
When there's fear in the market, when there's blood in the streets, you buy even if it's yours. But like it could, but it also could just plot along, ladder step up, long sideways, long chops.
Yeah,
we could go to 148,000 on a Saturday night and back to 132 on a Sunday morning.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't mean just because you get there doesn't mean you have liquidity at those price points either.
I think the only thing that derails the Bitcoin bull run, other than its own FOMO, would be a massive recession, which some analysts have been predicting.
Yeah, at any time, and everyone's saying 2026 for that. So maybe that comes earlier. But all right, there's enough price prognostication. So let's move on to the next one.
Oh, here you go.
I love this one.
Newsom to launch the Trump corruption coin.
Oh man,
is Newsom's new rhetoric pivot?
I hate both sides, but I really fucking hate this guy. I used to live in San Francisco when he was the mayor. He just seems like the slimiest motherfucker around, doesn't he? Like, you ever see him with that shoulder? I wish we had that video we could put up with the shoulder swivel around the the fires in California.
Oh, God.
And basically, he's trying to call out Trump's corruption, which I think that you can make an argument that there's a form or level of grift and corruption here, and that this is not altruism or even just pure capitalism. But he's saying, okay, to call it out, I'm going to grift and monetize my audience.
Yep.
And use political memes to make money for myself, enrich myself at the expense of his followers, or whatever you want to call them, supporters.
They all do
political
it,
supportors.
They all
it's disgusting.
They all do it. It's disgusting. The scariest thing about this,
and he seems to be catching fire for 2028. That's not the right phrase.
That's the scariest thing about it. This is the scariest thing about it.
He's been groomed for it, I think, for decades.
Do we do a 4-year Bitcoin crypto elevation and then we lose it all because a different party comes in and tries to kill it all?
I don't know. I think Trump's going to die. They're going to. JD Vance is the You know, he's the
Well,
backdoor
right,
teal
right.
front,
Yeah,
and it just all
absolutely.
goes to fucking kaput with that. I don't know.
Well, then we don't. Yeah, who knows?
And then Newsom doesn't have a shot. I have
don't
no
know.
idea.
Politics needs to stop. That would solve a lot.
Politics is life. You know, you don't choose politics. Politics chooses you. You know what they say?
I don't know.
All right, let's get on to the next one.
I'm checking out.
All right.
Your question there.
Yeah,
Sika.
okay. All right. What's that? Mastercard reports rising crypto interest.
Mhm.
Mastercard, their own survey showed 58% crypto adoption. I don't know how they measure that. Do they see Bitcoin as an opportunity or an existential threat to their model?
Okay. First of all, I don't think Bitcoin is a threat to their model because they're in the business of issuing credit. They are going to start issuing credit on stable coins. So they're going to use stable coins for instant settlement, which benefits the retailers, which benefits them because they have less settlement risk. So they're going to move to stable coins for instant settlement, and then they're going to issue credit, and they're going to just keep their system going. Bitcoin is not a part of that unless you're going to be staking Bitcoin to get credit so that you can use your credit card. That they're going to use this to their advantage. It's not a threat for the card
Yeah, I
companies.
agree. They'll be okay.
Yeah, they'll be fine.
Either them or Visa. We'll get one day.
All
It'll
right.
be a monoverse.
Oh, here's a good one. Bitcoin home invasion leader faces extended sentence. Will the added sentence for witness assault in this Bitcoin robbery case
Yeah, that's crazy.
curb crypto target?
He beat the
physical
crap out of one of the witnesses, like from handcuffs, like after he was convicted. And they only got 4 years for that shit. So that's fucked up. 47 years, not bad. But this is like a ring. There were like 13 people involved, and they only swiped, and only is not the right word, but $3.9 million. So I think this guy only netted, the government claims like 500,000, which he supposedly has to repay from the money he stole. I don't know why that, like, it should just be, they should just write all of it.
Yeah,
Like, they should be like, he owes 500,000. That makes me think he walked away with $1.5 million, paid these other guys 50 grand each, and he's made out, and he's got to just pay his time. But it's kind of scary. I don't know if this stuff is sort of getting blown out of proportion in the sense that it's statistically maybe still insignificant. I mean, lots of people get burglarized and there's crime. It's not non-existent, and it's just reaching the headlines versus, you know, is this some sort of trend?
Sure.
But
home invasion existed before
Bitcoin. But a lot of these things, I mean, these people get caught. It is a public ledger. It's great for, you know, sending money and then having not be maybe brought back if you know how to do that. I mean, Ross Ulbricht even got caught. So, you know, it's really hard, I think, to get away with this stuff.
Yeah, it is.
So it doesn't seem like and it seems like a lot of people involved in it are kind of low brow. It's not even like they got 100 million guy, something like that. And I'm not encouraging any of this. And everyone should be armed to the teeth, you know, and multi-sig or however you want
to Florida,
a seed phrase and a passphrase.
Pack a gun.
Yeah, pack. You divide your stack in a way that, like, you can't be wrench attacked. But you still have to explain it to these people. That's part of the problem.
You don't have to explain shit if they come in your house.
And you have weapons, right? No, you got to put them on the ground, right?
Immediately.
But, yeah. So, but, you know, let's, you know, I don't want to talk about it anymore. It's terrible, but let's try to keep it in perspective.
Gun range Saturdays.
And there you go. And Tuesday tacos. All right, you're up.
You're up.
Oh, no. Supreme Court refuses to limit crypto surveillance. Does the Supreme Court's refusal to review an IRS summons case mean wallets are now open to warrantless surveillance?
It just means that wallets are going to continue to be surveilled. They're not now open. They're continuing to be surveilled. They've always been surveilled, right? So surveillance of the wallets is a part of the regulatory framework. You cannot do business in crypto if you're not surveilling wallets, or your business will be shut down. It's just that's the state of affairs that we live in, unfortunately, that you cannot have privacy in this world, right? The bank knows what you're doing, the Fed knows what you're doing, the CIA knows what you're doing, the NSA knows what you're doing, Apple knows what you're doing, Google knows what you're doing, X knows what you're doing, and now your crypto wallet knows what you're doing. So plan accordingly.
So what do you think? You know, RFK Jr. has been making this case, like, you know, I don't know, what do we call it? The sort of the welfare economy and that sort of those benefits and entitlements, or however you want to phrase it, have been being used for like candy and soda, and the amount of money he's referring to is it seems like an astronomical amount of money.
That's a great point, right?
And he wants to limit the ability for the users of those services to buy those things. But that just seems to me like financial surveillance and a rollout of CBDCs and to get us on board. And I'm like, what's the fucking political jujitsu here? And I don't trust this guy either.
Right. And we're being surveilled, but the politicians are not.
Right.
And the NGOs are not. And the nonprofits are not. Because they've been using their funding to do all sorts
money
of garbage.
laundering and garbage and corruption.
Right.
Sure. And backdoor payments.
Surveillance for thee, but not, surveillance for me, but not for thee.
But what do you think about just on its face in a binary situation? You're like, do we limit the use of these funds for certain things, or do we not? Like, do we roll out that ability or not?
And
they back you into this thing like we were talking about with Dan Hillary and Darkside. It's like you have all these unintended consequences, and like both these choices suck. I'm like, can we just stop the and then you sound like an asshole jerk, but it's like maybe we just turn it all off. Like, don't use it, don't build out further capabilities. But now you're like insensitive, and now and I don't know what the answer is there, but like I don't like the idea of them controlling the money.
Sure.
In a way, and then rolling out
it's a
bigger.
slippery slope, man. And then the EBD cards are already doing that.
Well, speaking of controlled money, let's go to the next one. Who's asking who? I think you're asking me.
Bitcoin OGs clap back at ETH flippening claims. Why does the ETH flippening myth keep resurfacing?
Well, it's a talking and selling point. Obviously, they're trying to push their coin. Their insider trading, ICO,
I watched
pre-ICO.
They did a good job.
Dude, I go back to look. It's interesting. Josh Mandel,
Robert
the time traveler.
Eric, good job, boys.
Josh Mandel, the time traveler.
Yes.
He gives props and kudos to Vitalik. I'm the messenger here.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. I think Vitalik's a front, and I don't even know if he makes sense.
Yeah.
I've never heard him make sense. But it is a $400 billion thing now.
I don't even know.
I don't
follow anymore.
And the meme used to be, I think Saylor used to talk about this when Bitcoin was worth a lot less as a market, as a category onto itself is, there's never been $100 billion network that's failed before.
Yeah.
Now with inflation, maybe to kind of augment that statement, now you guys say it's $1 trillion network because you still think maybe ETH will fail, right? I think ETH will be here for a long time. I think it's interesting that someone like Josh Mandel gives Vitalik kudos for just pushing this thing down, this piece of shit. Like, even if he's trying to, I think his goal is to kill this thing as slowly as possible so he doesn't go to jail. It seems like the state is behind this thing.
Here's the deal. Back in 2019, I think it was, when ETH went towards proof of stake and or even before that, when they were claimed like not.
That's a victory, though, to pull that off.
But hold on. And they were claimed not a security. Okay. They were efficiently decentralized.
Sure.
And they were up in front of, I think, Congress, and he was getting grilled by the SEC. And then he kind of came out anointed, like you're not a security. You're decentralized enough, but we're also going to go to proof of stake. Right then and there, you can start to see ETH take the form of Wall Street. This was Wall Street starting to say,
but
like,
JPMorgan's backed them since the beginning.
We can do everything on this chain that we do internally. And now we can do it on the blockchain. But they haven't done enough technical research to know that ETH will break and continue to break over and over again.
They'll just move their fake ledger to another ledger. So here's our new UTX. Here's the old UTXO set.
ETH got shocked back to life. Right. It got a little, oxygen pumped into it from Wall Street, stablecoin, meme factory.
They'll rename it. They'll go to a new.
It's all going to fail. It's all going to fail.
I think they'll just keep kicking the can down the road and fake using it and build an economy around it.
They're all going to run on different chains. They're going to maybe run on a whole new chain. ETH will go by the wayside and die a slow death. And Wall Street will figure that out. They'll leave it. Once Wall Street does a little bit of research and figures out that ETH cannot keep up with what they want to do on chain. They can't keep up with any of it. They will abandon it.
Then why is that backdoored in? Why is the state saving it? Why is the state backing it? Why is JPMorgan?
It's the only diversification they can get right now in the crypto space. They're going to be
like,
if we own Bitcoin, we also have to own ETH. We also have to own Solana because we got to fucking diversify. They're going to then drop that shit when they figure out it doesn't work.
I just don't think they're just going to drop it. I just don't. I mean, maybe they'll
nobody
shift
gets
it.
out
They'll go
all
to
at
another thing.
once.
The money will be there. Like you're saying, it's like if it's not on ETH, it'll be on Solana. The whole thing won't be dropped. Right. And so,
I don't know.
and
like when you hear people talk about how like, oh, something better comes along in crypto and it gets replaced and blah, blah, and Bitcoin could be replaced. It's like they missed
no, not
the
replaced.
point.
That's not the point, but it's going to live on for a long time alongside and sort of be the state's captured garden.
You're such an ETH.
I'm not ETH anything.
Bag holder.
Fuck that. But no, but it's I'm just watching what's happening. They're just like they're building a moat around it.
Yeah, we know you love.
They're
ETH.
sanctifying. Yeah, I'm an ETH head.
You got to sell that shit, dude. I've been trying to get you to do that for years. All right, on that note,
I went through the shitcoin phase. I admit it. I sold all that stuff a long time ago.
Do we have any questions from
I sleep better at night.
from the audience?
Dude, the greatest trade of my life, the worst trade of my life was selling my chain link. Probably like if I held on to it, someone gave me, told me you should buy this. I gotta. One of my good friends loves the tech, right?
How do you?
So he told me about this early, and if I had held on to my chain link, I would have had a 50 or 100 bag at different points. And I didn't have a lot of money in it, but I sold it like I was like, oh, this thing's gonna go 50 to 100x. I sold it before that happened. But I'm saying if I review my trades, that's a losing trade.
Is there anything else you'd like to get off your chest tonight?
Oh God, yeah. No, I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for your permission. That Church has said. Well, good. Thanks for coming to my SED talk.
Yes.
Don't buy shitcoins. It's not financial advice. Do what you want. I believe in freedom, but I don't like predatory stuff either. I wish the government would crack down on this stuff.
Dude, you're on it tonight. What are you drinking over there?
I got I grow star fruit, and it's like a lemon orange thing.
Wow.
And I put it in water. And I got some iced coffee. Maybe that's my 12th coffee at the show.
You're on it tonight.
So, all right, let's get to the Q&A. Hit like and subscribe if you enjoyed the show. Q&A for BitcoinCenter. My name is Cedric Youngelman. This is Paul Tarantino.
So we mainly get a few comments.
I mean, I don't blame them.
Not necessarily
Comments.
About MicroStrategy.
Stop talking.
So much caffeine. Dollar deep. You have to read it, dude. Oh my God.
Well, this is from Mark Topaz. Thank you for tuning in, Mark. The dollar's devaluation, 5 to 7% per year, plus modest assumptions about Bitcoin increase, is plenty of room to maintain the strategy for a decade or two. Yeah, but what if we go down 50% tomorrow and we start doing that from there? I mean, like, what does that do to sort of the Bitcoin treasury? I could see a really bad.
I don't know if I can maybe I don't understand the statement, but if the dollar is devaluating 5 to 7%, but we still go through an 85% correction in Bitcoin, and let's say we get an S&P 500 down 50, 55, 60, 70% at the, before it rebounds, that's going to be serious pressure on that security. Regardless, the dollar could be plummeting.
But that's
actually the dollar would
Strategy's
be rising.
buy-in. I think they're all buying.
The dollar should be rising during that.
Strategy's buy-in is at like 76 or 77K per Bitcoin, I think now, across the portfolio. So if Bitcoin would go below that point, and the MNAV on the security would go below 1,
yes,
they're in, I think, a death spiral. I can't get my head around.
The only thing that bails them out is Bitcoin big investors say, this is my opportunity to get Bitcoin at a deep discount.
You might have hodlers and buyers of last resort.
Yes.
But and I also think in that scenario, it's just easier to hold onto your own Bitcoin in self-custody.
100%.
It's the volatility is like you get maybe you get less upside.
Actually,
but like, why do you need more upside than Bitcoin itself?
Like I think that's the right approach. You want to have
89%. Do you believe in this thing that
90% of your bag should be Bitcoin in self-custody?
The aha moment for Jesse Myers and Michael Saylor is, hey, you could save in Bitcoin, invest in Bitcoin, but not everyone wants to be 100% in Bitcoin, especially if you are entrepreneur, you own your own business. The equity in that business is not technically in Bitcoin. You could value it in Bitcoin, but it's not. It's just a security. It's valued in dollars. Maybe you want a portion of your portfolio to be riskier than the risk-free asset. If you believe Bitcoin is a risk, do you think there's a place, not for what should be in that place, but should you aspire to try to beat the hurdle rate?
I mean,
You know.
sure. If that's what you want to do, man. If you're a trader and you think you've
Well,
got,
and this is not trading advice,
well,
but
you've got the ability. You think you have the ability to beat Bitcoin. You have the ability to time the market.
I mean, it could
Go
be even
for it.
things
Knock
like
yourself
gold
out.
or platinum. I mean, if you think
Knock
this
yourself
other
out.
thing, Sony TVs, whatever it is,
Who am I to tell you not
like
to do it?
PS, Switch 2s, Nintendo.
All I know is that I'm playing the long game with Bitcoin.
Right. It's a safe haven and the safe harbor and the best place to be in up or down.
Well, it's a safe haven in regards to I believe that it'll be here for 1,000+ years, and that if I can weather the volatility, it will be incredibly valuable in the future. And so that's the long game in Bitcoin. All the other stuff around it, all the financialization around it,
right,
is shorter term thinking, and it's got the potential to outperform Bitcoin over shorter periods of time as well. In the long run, I want to have Bitcoin in self-custody for myself, my kids, and their kids. And that is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity when you think of it in that way, and you can buy Bitcoin today at $100,000 a coin or near it. That is a hell of an opportunity if you believe that over the long run it's going to 1 million,
right,
and then 5 million,
right,
then 10 million. And does it matter if that happens over 10 years, 20 years, 30 years? Not if you're thinking about future generations.
Right.
So, that's sort of like the core of my investment thesis in Bitcoin. And then all this other stuff is fun to talk about and interesting, and you can make a lot of money, but you could lose money too.
Right. Interesting stuff. What do we got here next? Secondly, strategy or MSTR may be better off outside the S&P, which could be a drag as much as a tailwind. MSTR is the most unique company in the U.S., being lumped together with 500 other U.S. dollar is a drag. But what about the passive investing into the S&P 500 is massive.
It's passive investing and passive selling.
Yeah, no, that's
Right?
true.
I
And
mean,
you can sell the whole thing with a push of one button.
That's why I think this whole thing is dependent on
Bitcoin price,
liquidity, and the overall business cycle. The biggest risk to all these companies right now is not their Bitcoin, it's the business cycle. And if we go into a massive deflationary recession, which I understand all the points around that not being probable, and I agree with a lot of those points, but at the same time, history would tell you that bull markets don't last forever, and a reversion to the mean often occurs. How we get that reversion and when we get that reversion is to be seen. But I think at that point in time, a lot of these companies are going to be tested.
Same. Exciting stuff.
We'll see.
Derek Jacobs, thanks for tuning in. Ask, is this shot behind a fifth wheel? Yeah, we're actually in a 36-foot fifth wheel trailer.
That's going to the moon.
Yeah, it's the BitcoinCenter trailer, and we're on the moon.
Sometime we're going to be taking this thing on the road, right?
Some would say Bitcoin's already won.
We're taking it. We need to take this to cities and do this in different places.
I agree.
We should take it to the next Bitcoin conference in Vegas.
Yeah, we'll just drive it around the conference.
Man, we'll park it in a trailer park and have everybody come by. And
I think we should do it as far away, maybe, from the conference. Like, why go there to compete on their own turf? Yeah, in the middle of the desert.
That would be sick.
What if Burning Man's been a fucking...
Let's take this to Burning Man.
No, I think Burning Man is controlled opposition that's like deep and dark. Man, they're burning.
Well,
this is satanic shit, I think. I think it's a satanic festival.
They need us there.
That takes I think Burning Man, if you ever notice, Burning Man's always done on the weekend of like the Republican National Convention. So it's like, how do we divert like the most craziest activists who would the fuck shit up and get them as far away from wherever the fucking convention is?
Dude, Dana.
And they're like, and then we're gonna like let them burn shit in the middle of the desert. Like this guy, they're gonna sacrifice some guy in the middle of the desert and spend their whole year. Remember the things, you're taking your most progressive, in let's say a good way, your most radical activists, thought leaders, and like getting them to spend 51 weeks a year. Because I lived with these people in San Francisco. They would just spend all year getting together, making their posters and figuring out what they were going to give out from their fucking camp. And all their energy was put into that 1 week.
I do like the way they dance. They dance well.
I've never been, but
They're good at dancing.
It looks fun, but I think, and I don't know. I think I think they're like trapping people
Maybe we
and
can
like
orange
teaching
pill
them
them.
bad stuff. I don't know. It's weird.
Maybe we
And
could
taking all that energy out of the system that could be like raging against the machine.
We could burn a Bitcoin emoji and
We're gonna burn a Bitcoin emoji. Maybe why don't we just like light it up in bright orange and like have like rainbows and like all positive shit, like bright orange future.
Let's fly in a UFO and have a beam of Bitcoin down.
I think also we should go to like some like awesome podunk city with the trailer and do the conference there.
Maybe
and,
tour the Midwest. I like the Midwest.
There
There's
you go.
good people.
Well,
Let's tour the farm. Let's tour the farmland of Middle America. Orange pill some.
Or just go to
some
like
farmers.
the best beaches. Sorry, like Key West and work our way to like Portland. Like Portland's on the beach, but you get the Columbia River Gorge and then you get to the Northwest.
We could follow the
Shoreline's pretty
Lewis and Clark
epic.
Trail. Let's do that.
All right.
All right.
This is BitcoinCenter.
Is anybody left? They probably all do now.
Go bank yourself. Do we have any more comments? I'm sure that ruffled some feathers, maybe. But yeah, we're gonna fifth wheel. That's pretty dope. All right.
That's
well,
pretty much
this
it.
is BitcoinCenter.
We've officially lost the entire audience.
My name's Cedric Youngelman.
I'm Paul Tarantino. Byte Federal. Go bank yourself.
Point of sale, wallet, go
ATM.
bank yourself. Peace.